If you're watching the news today, you're getting emotional, and your fighting spirit is getting cranked up, I want you to know I understand. I understand the perspective of one group of people who feel like they've been cheated in a massive way. I can also put myself in the position of the other people whose group is ascending to power, while there's another group over here who seemingly wants to stop them. Now, they seem to be working against one another. Where is the truth in all of that? Who's right and who's wrong? It's pretty complicated, isn't it? What we need right now is wisdom. What do we mean by wisdom? Why do we need wisdom? Because there's deception everywhere. Deception is the order of the day. So if you're watching this thing play out on television, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, your favorite truther, wherever, and you think you know what's going on, you think you got all the pieces to the puzzle, I would just suggest that you step back from that. Just relax. Because I don't think you do know what's going on. There's too many moving parts, too much going on to know exactly what's happening. What it really looks like, as much as anyone could possibly tell from the outside, is that there is a movement going on there to rile us up, to stir us up against one another. And if you remember yesterday, right here on this channel, the Stream of Days of Noah, we talked about this very thing. The idea that a fighting spirit that's in us. We actually have a desire for struggle. And people in charge know that. People in power who want to stay in power know that. And they will use that. They will use that against us to stir us up and move us in certain directions. So we know deception is all around. So how do we think about this? Well, we're supposed to live our lives according to our commitments, not according to our emotions. So what is our commitment? Well, as followers of Jesus Christ, Christians in the purest sense of the term, our commitment is to Him. And therefore, our commitment is to peace. Our commitment is to cooler heads. We're the cooler heads that must prevail. We're the ones who will start and run that movement. So I suggest that we ground ourselves. We ground ourselves in wisdom. So let's take an example from the wisest man that ever was, Solomon. In 1 Kings chapter 3, Solomon is described in the following positive terms. Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David, his father. And one night the Lord appeared to Solomon and asked him, or said to him, Ask for anything. Ask what I shall give you, he said. In response, Solomon answered and said, Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind. Solomon wanted to be able to discern between good and evil. And it goes on to say that it pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked, and God delights to give wisdom to those who truly seek it. And we see it in Proverbs chapter 2 and James chapter 1. So God responds to Solomon's request for wisdom by promising 3 different gifts. The first is the wisdom that Solomon had asked for. The Lord said, I now do according to your word. Behold, I give you a wise and discerning mind, so that none like you has ever been before. No one has ever been like you before, and none will ever be again. He was well known all around for his wisdom. Now, the Lord also gave Solomon great wealth, something that he didn't ask for. Because Solomon came to him and asked according to God's will, God blessed him in other ways that he hadn't asked for. That's good to keep in mind. So the first 2 gifts that God gave Solomon were unconditional. Solomon was known as a man of great wisdom and as a king of great wealth and influence. But was Solomon known as an obedient king who experienced a long life? He was blessed by God. He asked the right thing. He made the right prayer. And he was wise, the wisest man that ever was. Solomon reigned for about 40 years, a long period for one king to reign. However, Solomon's obedience was mixed. He had many wives, including foreigners who influenced him to sacrifice to their gods. So he was unfaithful at times. His great wealth also contributed to unwise excesses. Solomon started out okay, he began well, as his humble request, praying according to God's will, for wisdom, shows us. But later, he disobeyed God. Solomon was spared more severe punishment for the sake of his father David, we see in 1 Kings chapter 11. So what is the point here? What is the Bible study here? Understand this: the wisest man that ever was, the man who prayed for wisdom, prayed correctly, and God blessed him to be the wisest man that ever was still able to be deceived. Even the wisest man that ever was still easily deceived and led astray by his emotions. So, I want to suggest that today we consider this. And let's not be too quick to assume that we can discern everything that's going on. And let's be humble. And let's lead the movement for cooler heads. Let's be those cooler heads. Let's ground ourselves in truth and pray for wisdom. God bless you, my friends. We'll see you again next time.